Dear Diary, we haven't been at our best over December in the Premier League, but only lost one match during that month, so we're still in a pretty good position. There were 0-0 draws against Leeds, and Aston Villa wins over West Ham by 1-0, and Wolves 2-0, plus a 1-0 loss to our next opponent in Manchester City, who are in second with a soon-to-be retired Carlo Ancelotti in charge. Then off the back of that, in the transfer window opening, we enter the FA Cup against Chelsea and their new manager, formerly of Inter Milan. As you may have noticed during those highlights though, our only goals from open play were in that Wolves game, and prior to that we had gone 6 games without one. So before that 2-0 win over Wolves, we ditched the vertical tiki-taka for now and have switched to a control possession style. Hopefully it kicks our attack into life, especially Brun and Valise, who have gone 8 and 12 matches without scoring respectively. Surely the droughts have to end soon. Until next time. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 73 of FMOE here with Cardiff City on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well and coming out today. We're in the month of December by taking on Manchester City at home in the Premier League, and off the back of that hopefully we can stay inside that top 4 to be fair we should be with our goal differential. And to start off January, once the transfer window does open, we enter the FA Cup in the third round and travel to Stamford Bridge to take on Chelsea under a new manager. So if you are looking forward to those 2 games in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and have been enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we've played a few games off the back of that episode yesterday where we took on both Liverpool and Newcastle. Not overly entertaining games, but thankfully kept things quite solid at the back, off the back of the one at the end of last week where Manchester United absolutely thumped us. So if you missed that episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. But off the back of that, we have continued to struggle quite a bit in attack, but to counter that, have also been quite good defensively as well. As you can tell by those results there, throughout the month of December, a couple of 0-0 draws against Leeds and Aston Villa. The first of those a bit more frustrating being at home, and we actually played quite well in the Aston Villa game as well. Marco Blun with a big opportunity, but hit it straight at the goalkeeper. So 2 games there we probably should have won, but thankfully got the jobs done against both West Ham and Wolves. Just that loss to Manchester City in between those at the Etihad. So despite the fact we are struggling to score from open play, as you can see, our only open play goals did come in that Wolves game. We have not dropped that many points, so it does mean we are still up in that top 4, right in that 4th spot on the Premier League table, joint with Brighton, and just 1 point behind Man City, with Liverpool still well and truly out in front by a big margin. Also some news in terms of some job openings as well. A few managers have been sacked now in the Premier League. If we go over to the job centre, you will see both Stoke in 20th and Brentford in 17th have got rid of their managers. Wouldn't be overly interested though in either of those jobs, and they aren't interested in us for now either, so we don't have to worry about that just yet. But still a few jobs which are a little bit insecure at the moment as well. Still Manchester United, they are yet to get into a strong enough position where Schmidt is in a safe zone, and also these days Tottenham with Van Nistelrooy and West Ham with Lopetegui, but it does look like that has just settled down a little bit for now. Might just have to wait a little while and see if a job opening does come up at a big club. It is obviously a few times at the moment. Quite happy here at Cardiff City with the way that we are going inside that top 4. Also something which we might need to keep an eye out on. Our first opponent in today's episode, Manchester City, their manager Carlo Ancelotti has announced he will be retiring come the end of this season. So that could be a very intriguing job that does open up. Might be something worth waiting for, compared to potentially jumping to a big team who are struggling in this current season. But the other thing that has changed off the back of yesterday's episode, during that run where we were really struggling to score goals, especially from open play, going into that Wolves game, I decided maybe we should change our tactical style just to try and get us on the front foot a bit better. And as you can see, we have gone to a control possession style instead of the vertical tiki-taka. The main reason, this has actually kicked our team over on Twitch into life in Montpellier over the last few weeks, so I did think it might be a good idea, seeing as we were struggling to score goals here throughout that month of December, albeit another factor could be the match load catching up with some of these first team players, but thankfully did work in that Wolves game. So I think for now we are going to try this out and see if it does just kick us into life a little bit more, in particular our strikers and also our wingers. It will suit them a bit better with those roles that they are able to play in the system. Did feel like with the vertical tiki-taka, we were kind of trying to fit square pegs into round holes a little bit with those winger roles, in particular out right, playing inside forwards with some players whose finishing is not that great. So hopefully with these different roles, we can find our goal scoring touch, albeit some tough games coming up to try and test that out in today's episode. And first up, we do take on the team in second on the Premier League table, as I said, soon to be retired Carlo Ancelotti, and we did lose not that long ago to these guys by a scoreline of 1-0 at the Etihad. Certainly not a bad performance, but we do need to try and keep a certain Erling Haaland a bit quiet in this game. He is obviously the player who could make a big difference. I think we're going to tight mark him straight from the get-go in this one. Hopefully we can keep these guys quiet, keep that good defensive record of late going, and might be able to sneak some points off these guys at Cardiff City Stadium. And in terms of our injury situation going into this game, not a lot has changed off the back of when you last did see us. Some players nearly back from those injuries, which they did have, but so far not impacting our balance on the bench. Nothing has changed from those last few games, so we'll come back shortly and run you guys through the team sheet as hopefully we can take some points off of Manchester City. And here are the team sheets for this first game of today's episode, the Premier League one against Manchester City. There we are. We are at full strength, and also our bench as good as it can be under the circumstances, albeit some tired players in that first team, especially on a heavy match load. Hopefully they can still do a job for us, and maybe we rotate for that FA Cup game away. There were Manchester City, a strong lineup, but hopefully we might find a way to catch them in second spot in this one. And just over 10 minutes into this one, we get our first highlight here. It's a free kick, and that one is allowed to bounce inside the box, and they do clear it, but thankfully Ben Hardy is there to tidy things up for us, and hopefully we can hold the ball here a little bit against a team as good as Manchester City. I suppose that's a danger against a good team. Now there's a foul there on Enesali. Not too sure who committed it. Might actually be the player already on a yellow card, but we are waiting here to see if this is a penalty. It was right on the line, and it is a penalty. So I think here it's a chance for Facundo Farias to put us in front. We did in fact start on a balanced mentality, and he's put it away. He beats Edison, even though he did go the right way. And I think now maybe, after grabbing that 1-0 lead, it is the chance for us here to try and shut up shop a little bit. Might go to a cautious mentality to hope that we do keep Man City here to a clean sheet. So maybe not the greatest game here to see if we can improve our open goal scoring form, but certainly a good start for us there. We go 1-0 up nice and early from the penalty spot. And it's feeling a lot like yesterday, because that was the only highlight of the first half. Don't mind it too much though, because it was a penalty in our favour. Facundo Farias did put it away. Since then we've been cautious, and as you can see, it's been a very quiet game, but we are going to try and take the chance if we get it to take all 3 points off of Manchester City. Also good to see so far we have kept Erling Haaland fairly quiet, not many shots from either team, but we are going to make a change here at half-time. Goodmanson, our captain, is on a yellow card. Niakate will come on for him and not have to ease off tackles, and hopefully we can keep Manchester City quiet here in the second half. We'll get things back underway with that 1-0 lead. Now, only a few minutes into the second half, the first highlight of this one, it's a throw-in here, which Chilwell these days at City does put into the mixer. Maybe a swap deal, of course, because Alvarez these days is at Chelsea. Now, Haaland makes his way into the box, tries to pick out someone there at the far post, but thankfully we do clear it. But Chilwell there to tidy things up yet again off the back of that clearance. Now, Kimmich tries to play a ball there over the top, but Jovic, bit iffy there. Now, good chance here for Erling Haaland, but thankfully Really poor finish from him. So we keep it at 1-0 as we about to approach the hour mark. And in fact, before we can hit that hour mark, as I was trying to get out of my mouth, there is another highlight here, again, a throw in to Manchester City. So maybe they will get a bit more of the ball here in the second half. There is an Alvarez at the back, but obviously not the same Alvarez as they do currently have in real life. As I said, we might see him in that second game of today's episode. Kimmich there nearly gets in behind, but thankfully a bit of a tug. But then, as we try and play out from the back, they do get the ball back there. Poor pass there down that left-hand side now. Chilwell tries to play one through there, but Jovic with a good block now. It is Gongula. Back to Alvarez. Otavio plays one over the top here. Good chance for Mateus Fernandes, but Mixado having a good game, it looks like, in this one. Puts that one out for a corner, albeit off the back of a praise. We are still going to see this. Bernardo Silva puts it into the mix, but thankfully Mixado comes out and claims that. So a good few passages there for our goalkeeper. And while we are here, might make a few substitutions as well. Jovic is down to a red heart, and also Marco Brun only on a 6.4. Our strikers in really average form at the moment. They haven't scored for a long time, but Dominguez will come on for Jovic, and Belize up front. Belize Navidad, can he get a goal? Hopefully he can in this last half hour, albeit still in a pretty good position, 1-0 up. And we've gone forward to the 70-minute mark now, and we're going to make our last few substitutions. A few more players in this currently quite busy schedule that we do have in December are quite tired. I think the smart idea here might be to take off those defensive midfielders so Savino and Jashari can come on and hopefully help us see this one out. Still 1-0 up. And nearly inside the last 10 minutes of this one, Fadius there was on the attack for us, but unfortunately we have a loose touch there, and it is Man City now who are in possession. Good touch there from Otavio to try and get them on the front foot down this right-hand side, and areas back on the ball. Choked there off the bench with a big chance, but yet again Mixado pulls out a very important save so far. One of our better players in this one, and we still hold that 1-0 lead with 10 minutes left. And we're inside the last 5 minutes of this game now. We have just started to time waste a little bit, and we have a late free kick in this one. Maybe can grab a cushion goal. McGuinness unmarked far post, but unfortunately just puts that one over the bar. But hopefully that might be the last highlight that we do get. We're actually getting a few chances late in this one, since we did go a bit more disciplined. But even though yet again we have not scored an open play goal, that is a big 3 points for us, and it should see us go up to second on that Premier League table. We have finally beaten Manchester City. We kept Erling Haaland quiet with that tight marking, and that early penalty to Facundo Farias is the difference maker. Quite an even game overall, but obviously a chance from the spot is going to be very useful against teams like these for us, and we do pick up all 3 points, even though, as we just told the team, still not quite playing at our best. But for now, we are in second spot. We jump above Man City off the back of that 1-0 win. We'll come back shortly, update you guys on that table after a few more matches are played on this match day, and then we'll come back and preview the FA Cup where we take on Chelsea from Stamford Bridge. And we've gone for about a week off the back of that big win there against Manchester City, even though, as I said, still not scoring that many goals from open play, but hopefully that does happen in the FA Cup. But as you can see, Brighton did pick up a victory, so because of the fact that they have won one more game than us, they do sneak above us on that Premier League table. The goal differential, though, exactly the same, but still in a very nice spot here, 5 points clear of those teams currently in a Europa League qualifying spot. So hopefully we might find a way to stay inside that top 4 and maybe get some Champions League football at Cardiff City next season. But we are about to take on Chelsea in our first game in the FA Cup this season. Of course, a few seasons ago, the first one where we did join Cardiff City while they were in relegation danger in the Championship. We did make our way through all the way to the semi-finals that season, but since then have not gone on too deep of a run in any of the cup competitions, largely because we have been focusing on both getting promoted to the Premier League and then over this season and last season just making sure that we do as well as we can in the English top division. But Chelsea these days are managed by Mullah Yakin. He is the former manager of Inter Milan, so they did get someone from Italy to take over from Simone Inzaghi. And rather hilariously, if we have a look at Inter Milan there, you can see they did a bit of a manager swap there, because Inzaghi these days has gone to Inter Milan, so they just swap managers there did Chelsea and Inter. But that is Chelsea's new manager. Looks like he is going to play a 4-3-3 DMY. We've played Chelsea a few times over the last year or so since we have been promoted, so I have a pretty good idea about these guys, even though they are struggling this season. 13th in the Premier League. They are a team who usually give us quite a close game, but we definitely know that we are capable of beating them on our day, so hopefully we can do a decent job here away from home. In the FA Cup will be tough for us at Stamford Bridge, and also, if we have a quick look at the match load of our first 11 off the back of that last month in the Premier League, you will see that most of them are completely knackered, and that is off the back of a full week since our last game as well, so I do feel like this is probably a good chance for us to put out a rotated team, also influenced by the fact as well El Bloshy is suspended, so we were able to make a change there anyway. We're going to try and trust our rotation team in the FA Cup, because if we don't get through this one, they won't get many more chances this season to feature in the Premier League, injuries and suspensions aside, because from this point on, the schedule does get a little bit kinder for us in terms of breaks in between games. Only a couple of weeks now where there are double ups, so it is a perfect opportunity for us here to play a rotation team, especially away from home against someone like Chelsea, but hopefully we can still put up a bit of a fight, and we'll come back shortly and run you guys through our rotated team sheet, as hopefully we can get on a little bit of an FA Cup run as we take on Chelsea. And here are the team sheets for this FA Cup clash. There are Chelsea actually putting out quite a strong lineup for this one, albeit Lukaku is suspended for us. The only suspension was El Bloshy. That is why he is not on the bench with injuries. That actually means we are quite weak in terms of defensive midfielders, but a full rotation for this one. Hopefully we can still put up a fight and actually score some open play goals. And 6 minutes into this one, we get the first highlights. A throw in here for Chelsea, albeit inside their own half. Today they are in the all blue. We are in our pinky white uniforms, and it is Chelsea here who do get a chance to try and play out from the back. We put a little bit of pressure on them there inside their own half, but for now they do find a way to keep hold of the ball. But certainly for us here, feels like a bit of a free hit in this competition this season, getting a team like Chelsea this early in the competition. But it is Fana here, plays that one up to Kante. Good work there from Colwell. Jashari probably would have been better off there looking for a shot instead of a pass, because unfortunately Dominguez was not quite as open as he thought there down that right hand side. And Chelsea try and get him behind there, but thankfully Stovall at left back today does a good job, and Hayati pings that one out to Dominguez, gets him behind his man, tight angle, but makes it work, and Carlos Dominguez will put that one top left corner. Probably our best player in this backup team, obviously being a starter for us last season. And finally, it's another open play goal, so it does look like this control possession style giving us a bit more of those than the vertical tiki-taka was of late, and that is a top finish from that ball out there from Ertung, and we take an early 1-0 lead at Stamford Bridge. And 10 minutes off the back of that opening goal, now it is us who are looking to play out from the back. Our defensive midfielders try and play that one over for Veliz Navidad, but doesn't quite link up with him. And now it is Chelsea who start to get on the front foot. Mason Mount here as the game just freezes briefly. Nkuku somehow finds a way to get through our defence there. Not quite sure what Urhogheid was doing. Just looked like he was tied to the ground there. So a bit of a defensive mistake. And Nkunku makes it. Can't get his name right this time, Shaun. And Chelsea will grab an equaliser. As you can see, nowhere near being offside, but Urhogheid just completely loses him. Too much pace, I think, or something. A bit of a confusion there for us at the back. And Chelsea grab an equaliser as we hit the 20-minute mark. And going forward to the half-hour mark, it's our next highlight. And Chelsea here do get a chance to play out from the back. They hoof that one deep, but thankfully this time Urhogheid does win it for us. And again, Dominguez gets him behind his man there. Plays that one back to Ian Hughes, who is on a yellow card. Dominguez plays that one for Veliz, who's put the ball in the back of the net. I do think he might have just been a stride offside though, so just going to hold back a little bit here. If not though, we might get the lead back, and it doesn't take long at all for that goal to be awarded. I thought he was just a stride offside there, but apparently not. And Dominguez having a very good game. And finally, one of our strikers puts the ball in the back of the net. 2-1 at the half-hour mark here at Stamford Bridge. to Cardiff City. He must only just be onside, but it counts, and we grab our lead back with 15 minutes left in the first half. And just as we were about to enter 2 minutes of injury time in this one, it is a throw-in for Chelsea in a dangerous area. Mason Mount, edge of the box, tries to curve that one top right corner, but thankfully does just go over the bar. And we will go into the sheds here at Stamford Bridge with our rotated team with a 2-1 lead. So obviously a lot happier with how this one is going, especially in terms of actually scoring some open play goals. But against this quite strong looking Chelsea team, that is a very good effort so far from this rotation team. We are going to make one change though at halftime. Ian Hughes on a 6.4. Also a yellow card. So Niakate will come on for him. We'll switch him with Stovall, who can play right back, but at the moment, obviously, pretty pleased with how this one is going. We'll just adjust some instructions here and hopefully we can hold on to this lead and make our way through to the next round of the FA Cup by picking up a somewhat upset win here at Stamford Bridge. And about 10 minutes into the second half, we get an early free kick in this one, albeit pretty close to a goal kick anyway, but we are going to try and play out from the back, but hopefully can be solid at the back like we have been for the last month or so, ever since that thumping from Manchester United. And we might get a chance here to pull off a bit of an upset at Stamford Bridge, albeit 3rd versus 13th on the Premier League table. Maybe not as much of an upset as I'm thinking, but still, with this team that we have put out, this would be a very, very good result and give us confidence for the rest of the season that even if we do get some injuries, these players who would step in can do a decent job for us. Chelsea there eventually try and play a ball over the top, but we deal with it. Jashari for back pass, he gives it straight to Nkunku. It's an absolute giveaway. And just as I was talking about how solid we have been defensively, Jashari with an absolutely shocking back pass there. And now, feels like that's been 2 defensive mistakes that have led 2 goals to Nkunku. No idea what Jashari's doing there. It's a pretty good assist, but for the wrong team, Nkunku puts it away. And Chelsea do grab an equaliser, and while we are here, we might make some substitutions. Hurtado on a 6.5, both those defensive midfielders on a 6.4, albeit no Bloshy on the bench does mean we only have 1 substitution, and Quezada for Savino is the upgrade, so I think that will be our midfield substitution. Also Sully for Hurtado, and hopefully we can get back in front here in these last 35 minutes. And right off the back of that equaliser and substitutions, now it's a free kick here for Chelsea, but thankfully we head that one away and Dominguez gets the chance here to set us free on the counter-attack. Veliz starts to make his way forward, plays that one back to Stovall, is now at right back. Jashari this time finds a teammate with that back pass, still absolutely miffed by that one before. Absolute howler, yet again on the ball. He does find a teammate again, so maybe it was just a one-off, but now Sully makes his way towards the edge of the box, just holds this up, plays this back to Niakate, unleashes one, and Mendy with a very fortunate touch on that nearly found its way into the back of the net. Now Chelsea on the counter-attack, Appelkamp inside the box, Kovacic with a shot, but thankfully Stovall is there to clear that one away, and now we might get a chance here on the counter-attack. Veliz back to Stovall, but that highlight will end 2-2 as we come up to the hour mark. And we might also make one more substitution at this time. Hyde is on a 6.5, was a little bit at fault for that first goal, which we did concede, so I think might not be the worst idea to take him off. And with Niakate being out-and-out centre-back, we can bring on Goodmanson for Hyde and just switch those 2 around. And hopefully that just makes sure that we don't concede anymore in this last half hour. And nearly inside the last 20 minutes of this game, but Chelsea certainly having the better of the second half so far, and now they have a free kick and make their way into our half. Cucurella now down this left-hand side, just takes his time on the ball, but thankfully someone there briefly gets in the way of Mason Mount, and then Stovall does some great work. Now Jashari, yet again, a really poor pass from him. Kanate, Cucurella will find Nkunku inside the box, and he might have completed his hat-trick, hopefully. Was offside, albeit with that goal that we got in the first half. Not too sure, and indeed he was onside, and I think now we have to take off Jashari. He is having an absolute howler, and maybe the lack of Bloshy in this game is going to hurt us a bit more than we thought. Just going to have to try and find now someone, if we have anyone, who can also play in that defensive midfield, because Jashari he has now made mistakes, which have pretty much just gifted them 2 goals in the second half, down to a 6.2. So we'll try and find someone who might be able to play defensive midfield. Tank can kind of play there. So I think that might be the change that we do make. Tank goes forward and Ben Hardy can play centre back for the last bit of this one off the back of us going 3-2 down. And we're entering the last 5 minutes of this game. It might be time for us to try and go on a positive mentality once I actually click on the right button. We did up our tempo with about 10 minutes left to go in this one as well. But unfortunately, despite putting up a very good fight with this rotation team, especially that first half, with those 2 goals, we absolutely bottle in the second half. And in particular, Jashari had an absolute shocker, giving both those goals away. And because of that, Nkunku picks up a hat-trick, and Chelsea will stay alive in the FA Cup. We go out off the back of our very first game, albeit with that rotation team. Certainly a good performance, but still, I feel like that was a game we definitely could have won if we were a bit more solid with our passing, especially Jashari, who had an absolute shocker out there. Also, Hyde somewhat at fault for that first goal as well, so that one not as good defensively as we have been in the Premier League recently, but also we did score a few goals from open play, so pleased by that, but still a little bit disappointing with how we did lose that one. Some defensive mistakes cost us, and we bow out of the FA Cup 3-2 to Chelsea. And back in the inbox of back of those 2 games in today's episode in the FA Cup, where we do bow out to Chelsea. As I said, a bit disappointed by that one just because we played quite well attacking wise, even though Chelsea was certainly the better team on the front foot in terms of shots and possession, but we had the higher XG and we just gifted them some goals. As you can see, those 2 mistakes from Jashari did prove very costly. I think I would have taken them off sooner if we did have someone like Al Bloshy on the bench, but with that one defensive midfielder, it did make things a little bit trickier in terms of trying to figure out which of our defensive midfielders to take off instead of both, and maybe made the wrong decision there by taking off Savino instead of Jashari. But still, I suppose it does mean that there's less fixture congestion for us in the second part of the season now, so maybe it might actually help us out in trying to stay inside that top 4 in the Premier League. And also a few other things to update before we do finish off today's episode. We have adjusted the board expectations for this season to now just avoiding relegation, which is probably still underselling our expectations quite a bit, but the difference between that and the higher ones in terms of the effect it did have on our transfer budget wasn't that significant, but still a bit of a boost in terms of that. We now have around about £3.5 million to spend and just over 100,000 in the wage budget, so maybe we could bring someone in this upcoming transfer window, albeit probably will be just a squad player. Some players who are thinking about leaving are the likes of John Kamani Gordon and also Carl Jakob Hein, considering he is unlikely now to get a work permit renewed, seeing as he won't be playing too much more for us, only being the cup goalkeeper. So maybe we do make some signings in this transfer window with that bit of extra money that we have found over these last few episodes, but don't think it will be a game-changing player either way, albeit we could actually sign Leon Goretzka. He is a player whose contract is expiring at the end of this season, but we are quite strong and have some quite promising players in that midfield area. But Leon Goretzka potentially could be a free transfer maybe for next season, albeit his wage he does want around about £180,000 a week, and to be a star player, so maybe not as good an idea as I'm making it out to be, but certainly something which we could do for next season. But I do think we're probably better off keeping with that young promising midfield of Quezada and Al Bloshy defensively. Also, in terms of injuries, we do have a few of those nearly coming back as well, so hopefully if we look at the current injuries, you can see not too far away some of these players from returning now, so it should add to our squad depth for the rest of this season, which is only going to be helped by the fact we don't have to deal with any of those cup competitions. And as well as that, it might be time for us potentially, with this extra money coming in from the Premier League, as you can see, the overall balance is quite good. Maybe we should try and increase the percentage of transfer revenue that we do get, so it is a bit higher than 50%, and that could make a big difference going forward to the next couple of transfer windows if we are to stay here at Cardiff City. But I think that will do it for today's episode, very good win over Manchester City, at least a big one in terms of the 3 points, which did move us above them on the Premier League table. So these days we are in third, but unfortunately, despite putting out a pretty good performance with a rotated team, Chelsea do beat us in the FA Cup. If you enjoyed that episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. We'll come back tomorrow. Obviously, if we do something in the transfer window or something funny happens in terms of a job interview, we might come back sooner, but looking at January, actually could be quite a good month for us. We might come back late in it though, because Brighton these days are doing very well, quite similar to us in the Premier League, much like Stoke were last season. That might be an interesting game to come back for if we do any transfers before then or on deadline day. We can cover those off, and we'll also show you guys potentially one of those games in February, as we will take on either Tottenham or Newcastle, both in quite a similar position. So we might see who is in a better position by the time we get to that Brighton game before we do decide which of those to come back for, but maybe Tottenham, because as I've just noticed, there is quite a big gap in between that Brighton and Newcastle game. So it's probably going to be Brighton and Tottenham coming up in tomorrow's episode, and maybe also a little bit of a transfer update if we do any business with that extra money that we have found. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.